at the marina. You can kind of see it wobbling around a little bit. Here's our line. It's tracking at highway speeds, 60 to 65 miles per hour. That's actually a little faster than it was traveling as it worked its way through portions of Wisconsin and Illinois, where there's already a history with this of 60+ mile per hour winds. So we have the watch that goes through 11 p.m., but already numerous severe thunderstorm warnings along the leading edge. The first one I'll fly you to is up in Muskegon and Oceana counties. This one going through 6:45. So another, I would say, 30 minutes or so as we look. Allegan and Ottawa counties here, kind of right in the midsection of this line. Also a severe thunderstorm warning that also includes South Haven. So anyone at the beach or at the lakeshore needs to get in a vehicle at the very least, but preferably in a well-structured building. Now, we still see some warnings off to our southwest as well in Berry and Cass counties, kind of rounding out all of the warnings in effect. But yeah, everyone needs to be on guard. The next several hours, our window is essentially now through 11 p.m. for the strongest of these storms. And it really is just that, a severe thunderstorm wind threat primarily, the same sort of things we're talking about with this line right now. So between now and about 7 p.m., arriving in many of our lakeshore counties, again, moving really quickly. So as early as about 7:30 or 8, it'll be crossing 131. And then for the most part, that main line will be exiting our area closer to about 9 p.m. tonight. So going through about midnight, it's not impossible we see another round of some showers and storms late tonight. So don't be shocked if you hear some thunder after bed or maybe in the middle of the night even. However, the ingredients aren't going to be there for the more potent severe storms that we're going to see in the next few hours. So as we look at our muggy meter, this is just kind of factoring in that humidity that we saw today. It's going to continue tomorrow. That's going to fuel that next round of storms for us tomorrow night. By Friday and Saturday, a big drop in our humidity is expected, and definitely by Sunday, a lot more refreshing as far as that feels like overall feel to the atmosphere, I should say. For tomorrow, that air temperature getting up into the middle to upper 80s, possibly flirting with 90 degrees, that heat index yet again in the middle 90s. National Weather Service saying they may consider another heat advisory for tomorrow. So of course, that line that we're tracking now, that's the big story for now, but tomorrow night, we're under an even higher threat of severe weather, a level 3 of 5 risk. And again, with this, similar timing, about 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. is our window. We'll probably be able to narrow that down, hopefully tomorrow as we learn more. The damaging wind gusts, the upper limit tomorrow, a little bit more substantial, possibly 75+ miles per hour, which would be significant, and just numerous severe thunderstorm warnings yet again expected. Here's the thing though, there's a little bit more shear, a little bit more wind dynamics in play tomorrow. That could also lead to a isolated tornado or some hail. But overall, we're going to jump ahead to your 7-day forecast here. So another weather alert day for tomorrow into the weekend. More spotty storms possible late Saturday into Sunday. Those not expected to be severe. As we go into next week, some much more refreshing temperatures. Andy.
All right, well, thanks for keeping an eye on weather with you tonight. In the meantime, coming up, the Firekeepers Casino Hotel Championship returns to Michigan this week. What attendees can expect to see. Next up.
All right, so we're on Facebook Live over here, gentlemen. We just simulcast our newscast slash the live stream. So that was kind of just an interesting take on things. So I'm going to, for the folks that are on this stream right now, I'm going to flip this back to radar. I'm going to step a little bit off camera here in just a second. And we'll kind of talk through what we're seeing just in a more direct way now that I have you. We're currently in a commercial break. We're on air right now on News Channel 3. We're going to be on air until 6:30. Once the newscast wraps up, we're going to continue our coverage on Facebook and YouTube, as you are probably watching, many of you on this little device here. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. So 60-mile-per-hour winds, that's the main threat with this line that continues to push east. Just the fact these storms are moving pretty fast as well, 60 to 65 miles per hour, definitely has our attention, because anytime you have storms moving 60+ miles an hour, it doesn't take that much to get some decent wind speeds with this. I'm going to just check really quick, check in with the National Weather Service and just see if there's any reports already, because our camera was already moving around a decent amount. But if you hear me get quiet in a second, it's because Andy is doing his job over there, anchoring our newscast. So you guys are getting a little bit behind the scenes. Like I said, I'm able to talk right now because we are in a commercial break. Let's see. I'm just seeing if there's been any confirmed wind gust reports so far. Anything too substantial? Nothing to report just yet.
1 minute.
A Michigan City buoy, so that's like offshore in Indiana, reported a gust of about 50 miles an hour. So sub-severe there, but the potential for those 60 plus, which is, by the way, enough to, do at the very least some minor damage. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Again, we're going to be kind of double duty here for a second. In a minute, I'm going to have to step over off camera. Maybe. Let's see if I can take you all with me. This will be fun. Okay. I'm going to have to stop talking in a second. But we won't lose graphics. Just
10 seconds. Stinger for your next. Stand by.
Welcome back to News Channel 3. The Firekeepers Casino Hotel Championship is making its return to Michigan, but with a twist. Douglas Golf Club is now ready for the Epson Tour and set to host the first Firekeepers Championship this year. The Epson Tour is going Marshall home as the Douglas Golf Club takes over hosting the event from the Battle Creek Country Club. The Douglas 45 staff members say they've been working hard, making adjustments. The tour has asked for, including more sands in the tracks, with 300 volunteers ready for the coming weekend, and of course is excited to show golf fans what it has to offer.
This one's 30 seconds. We have video tag, then more video after that.
All right.
10.
Again, I'll be able to talk a little bit more once our show wraps up in a few minutes.
Well, they're here, and round one from the medalist gets underway on Friday. Nick Niebuhr's knee-borne life came to an end far too soon when the compensated form of spina bifida passed after a bout of cancer in 2023. But his journey doesn't end there. The Nicholas Niebuhr Foundation is now using Nick's message of define your limits to encourage others to give their all, with members of the Western Michigan football family helping to host a youth football camp in his honor. After all, spreading Nick's message was something he always hoped to accomplish.
This one's 40. We have video tag and then final letter.
Okay. So again, we're wrapping up our newscast on TV. Hence why I'm not talking currently, but we'll be able to talk at length here in a second.
Ten. 5. Stand by.
Registration for the camp is open for incoming 3rd through 8th graders from now through June the 15th.
And as expected, this line of strong to severe storms pushing in now. We already have some gusts closer to Michigan City, Indiana, of over 50 miles per hour. So I wouldn't be shocked if, at the very least, some 50 to 60 mile per hour winds are moving onshore pretty much as we speak. Numerous severe thunderstorm warnings continue up and down our entire lakeshore. So if you're in a lakeshore county, just hunker down for another maybe 30, 45 minutes. Now, of course, this line is going to continue to track east at highway speeds of like 60 to 65 miles an hour. So, anytime a storm is moving 60 plus miles an hour definitely has our attention. But again, this is just round one. Round two comes tomorrow, late evening into tomorrow night.
All right, stay with us both here on air and online tonight for the latest on weather conditions.
Next up.
All right, thanks guys. We're still on this live stream, just so everybody's aware. All right, Andy, enjoy your dinner, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
I would say the same. For sure.
Yeah, my dinner is gonna be at like maybe 9. Maybe I'll scarf some food down before our
Vending machine.
late night show. Yeah.
Will Haenni, don't forget your bug.
Oh yeah, you're the man, Jesse. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna put that up. Jesse,
Yes.
I don't need to do a cut in right now on TV, but probably my plan is just like as more are issued as the evening goes on, I'll probably do more.
Okay.
But we're-
I'm here until Derek comes and relieves me. So whenever you need to go live, just let me know.
Okay. Are you in studio or are you going to be direct?
I'll be direct.
Okay, cool. Just maybe leave my mic on so I can just talk to you in there. Does that work?
How much charge you got?
Let's see. Hold on, everybody. 4 hours and 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm gonna get Weather 2 charging, so if we have to swap you out,
Okay.
we just hot swap you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're looking probably at the next like 2 hours at least. It's gonna be a fun next few hours, y'all. It's gonna be busy. All right, so as you know, if you're in a Lakeshore County right now, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning, and most of those continuing for at least another 30 minutes in most cases. Let me flip this so I can get the graphics a little bit bigger. I can also now read some of your comments, so I appreciate everybody that's been coming in. Nancy saying heavy winds in Hartford. Yeah, you're right, kind of in the thick of it. You know, the leading edge of this on radar, some of the strongest winds are going to be like right ahead of that leading edge. And wind speeds as estimated by radar that I was seeing, pretty impressive, especially right now in like South Haven. Now that's going to be hitting some elevated areas in radar. However, there's, and I'll switch that over here in just a second. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about, but definitely some strong winds right now in Van Buren and Ottawa counties. So we'll zoom in a little bit and show you what I'm talking about. But I'm also going to move in just a second. All right. I'm on our little rolly cart thing. Like my new toy? It's very nifty, isn't it?
It's awesome. Super
With
jealous.
a little standing cart. Okay. So here's what I was talking about, everybody. Let's switch this over to velocity. So those bright greens right now centered on, yeah, that makes sense based on that report that was from Hartford that you all would be seeing some pretty strong storms. Sirens are going. That's interesting. I mean, I'm never going to say they shouldn't be necessarily, but there's no tornado warning. But sometimes, sometimes we get these, like a local emergency management office will just kind of decide to do that if they think that the storm warrants it. Typically, we would not see sirens sounded for severe thunderstorms unless they were warned with a severe tag or a significant tag of 70 plus mile per hour, which is not the case right now. I'm not faulting them for doing that. However, let me know where that is. And if any of you that are saying it's raining really hard and the wind is howling, if hunker down, just stay inside away from windows. Once this blows through, if you see any downed trees in your backyard or anything like that, feel free to send them our way. Looks like an outage already in South Haven from Travis. Appreciate that. Gwen, Gwen, good to see you on here. You're saying it's coming at the lake right now. All right, so let me just show you though what I'm talking about, everybody. I'm going to turn off some of these really briefly. So these are those really potent wind gusts that people are seeing. Yeah, so 63 mile per hour wind speed estimated. That's like between South Haven and Covert. Up a little closer to Ganges, 65 mile per hour winds. Yeah, I mean, this is all right up along I-196 right now. So Saugatuck, Fenville area, Holland, you're probably going to see the wind really picking up if you haven't already. And then like Lawrence, you're going to be next. Arlington, Breedsville, Grand Junction, Blueberry Farms out there are going to see some strong wind moving through. All right, it does look like we might have a new warning, possibly for Kalamazoo. Yep, maybe. Let's see. I don't know if it's filtered into our system yet. It does look like we just got a new warning, though, that's going to include Berry County and Kalamazoo County. So they're extending it farther west, or farther east, rather. So with that, we're going to do a quick cut-in on TV as well. Jesse, if you're listening, I am still on IFB. At least I should be. Are you there, Jesse? I might have to call our director, Jesse, in a second. All right. There it is. Okay, so there's our new warning. Basically, to no surprise, but it's been extended now to include Kent, Kalamazoo, and Berry counties, and a tiny sliver of St. Joseph County as well. This new warning goes through 7:30 p.m. So that's for radar indicated wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. And, there could be some small hail. I'm less concerned with the hail, though. So, yeah, all of Kalamazoo County, time to hunker down. Don't go run to Taco Bell right now. Not a good idea. Just wait it out. I know on radar, these storms might not look all that potent, but they're moving very quickly. And so it doesn't take a lot for them to mix down some higher momentum wind speeds. And there's just so much energy. Think of all that heat and humidity. That's like fuel for these thunderstorms. Let me call Jesse really quick. He might not even be in place yet because this is hitting so close. Let me call him. All right. So yeah, I'm coordinating with our director, Jesse, who you heard off camera. Hey dude, let's do a quick cut in on TV because okay, classic. Okay, well, just I am on IFB, so just let me know in my ear as soon as we can. Okay, thanks. Bye. So we're having a little technical issue. That's classic right now. So hopefully we can get on soon. Let me. I'm just going to get my bearings a little bit, and then we're going to go through and kind of comb through this radar data. One thing right now that's a good sign is. I was kind of scanning for any possible rotation, and I don't really see much of that based on what I'm looking at on radar. So that's a good thing. I think this is primarily just straight line wind. And that was what our thoughts were all along with this, was that this was primarily going to be just damaging wind gusts with this line, which is definitely verifying so far. And these on radar don't look indicative of anything like that would rotate. Looks like they're are open now. Jesse, I know you guys are working on it. If you guys could just go to the chroma, that would be great. All right, so we're getting ready. This is the fun part of doing a live stream and TV at the same time because we're kind of coordinating some things off camera. Okay, looks like another severe thunderstorm warning. My guess is maybe, okay, yeah, up in Newaygo County. So Newaygo County was just added. To no surprise. So if you are in Newaygo County, Kent County, Kalamazoo, Berry County, you have just a few more minutes before this line pushes in. It does have a history of 50 plus mile per hour wind gusts. And in fact, I am going to circle back here.
Got it sorted out, grab my headset.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Are you running open to chroma? Did you hear that?
I did not hear that.
Okay, are you able to do that? Could we just do open to chroma with graphics?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, yeah. We got a little bit of time, but yeah, as soon as you can, just let me know. All right. So right now, if we switch this over to velocity, some of the strongest wind speeds are being indicated through portions of Ottawa County up into the Holland area, and then also especially Allegan County. So Allegan, if you're not seeing the really strong wind just yet, you will be. These bright greens that you're seeing there on your screen, that's where we have the best potential for 60 plus mile per hour winds. A little farther south down this line, it's not jumping off the page quite as much, but just the fact these storms, again, are moving like 60 miles per hour, they kind of carry that momentum with them. So anytime a storm is moving 60 plus miles an hour, it takes less for that storm to kind of bring down some higher wind speeds.
He's almost excited to pull it right issue.
Oh, you're good. Classic. At least it's severe thunderstorms and not tornadoes.
Right.
At least for
now. It's up and running now, so we should be able to go as soon as Clint's ready. So.
Okay. So again, if you're just joining us on the stream, we're coordinating a TV cut in here shortly, so you'll be able to watch on News Channel 3. We also have our alert bar on the bottom. I'm not going anywhere, though. If you're streaming with us on Facebook or YouTube, we're going to stay live there until the threat subsides this evening. I'm doing some things off camera, but you can kind of see this line. It's pretty potent that continues to move in. And everyone along this entire leading edge, potential of 60 plus mile per hour wind speeds. So, treat it like you would, getting inside away from windows, and just wait, 20, 30 minutes before the threat kind of subsides. Okay, I did want to share that to my page. Okay, so yeah, Newaygo County, great. All right, so Allegan County Police reports trees, wires down, blocking the road. Hey, yeah, I can, Jesse. It's 109th Ave in Allegan. Looks like some tree damage. Okay, Jesse, are you pretty much ready to go? Okay. So one thing, I kind of mentioned this, but the gust front of this line, which is the rain cooled air surging out ahead of the storms, is likely to arrive and out ahead of where you see precipitation on radar. So, the leading edge of that heavy rain right now. Okay, sounds good. Okay, we're going to do a quick cut in on TV. Jesse, I'm going to see how this looks. This will be our little test run. This will be an interesting little guinea pig on TV. I've never actually used. All right, good evening, West Michigan. I'm Meteorologist Will Haenni, interrupting our programming just briefly to give you an update on our severe storms pushing through West Michigan as we speak. This entire line has severe thunderstorm warnings. We want you to be alerted to that, and also just the fact that you want to take this storm seriously. It has the history of 60+ mile per hour wind gusts as it continues to march east at about 60 to 65 miles per hour. We have numerous severe thunderstorm warnings that have been rolled out within the last 5 minutes. That's why we're cutting in to just give you that information. Newaygo County added just moments ago, Kent County, Kalamazoo County, and then also Berry County and a small sliver of St. Joseph County. The newest set of warnings is going to go through 7:30 p.m. The threat with these storms is primarily 60+ mile per hour winds. What you want to do is get inside, away from windows, and just hunker down for a little bit. Not the time to be out running errands as we speak. The thing about these storms, too, is the leading edge is almost a little misleading. Now, of course, the heavy rain now pushing towards, say, through the Hartford area, for example, Lawrence, probably entering into Paw Paw as we speak. But out ahead of this line, by maybe about 5-10 minutes, even before the rain arrives, you're going to feel a gust front, that rain-cooled air kind of surging out from these storms. And even that has the potential for some 60+ mile per hour damaging winds. We also already have a couple reports starting to trickle in. I've had a few folks on our Facebook Live and YouTube live stream chiming in that the power is already out in and around South Haven. I don't know if that's entire South Haven or not, but also some tree damage already being relayed from the National Weather Service in and around Allegan. So take this seriously, inside, away from windows, and even if you want to play it extra safe, treat it like a tornado warning and get in your basement at the very least if you are able to. So our plan here for the next few hours is to update you on air as new warnings are issued. And if we, of course, see any tornado warnings, then we'll stay on TV and our live stream. But for now, we're going to kind of wrap this up because that is, again, the update. Right now, you just want to take these storms seriously. They're tracking east at about 65 miles per hour. And so if I put a track on this, I'll kind of give you an idea of timing of things in just a second. And then we'll wrap this up. But the good thing is we can continue this conversation on our Facebook Live and our YouTube live stream. So if you hop on there, we're going to stay on there as warnings are still in effect. So this is tracking so fast, I had to kind of pull our scope out a little bit. But this will give us an idea of when the heavy rain is expected to arrive here at a few locations. So Allegan, you're already essentially seeing it. But Kalamazoo, the heavy rain should be pushing in a little closer to about 6:55. And so I would put the damaging wind potential even a few minutes ahead of that. So again, we have a severe thunderstorm warning that continues in Kalamazoo, Berry, Kent counties, and some other counties, all of our lakeshore counties. Your warnings are going to continue for another, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes in most cases. But then the severe thunderstorm warning in Kalamazoo, Kent, and Berry County continuing through 7:30 p.m. So again, as new warnings are issued, we'll cut in here on air. But we'll continue the conversation over on our Facebook Live and our YouTube Live pages, and we'll leave you and head back to our regularly scheduled program. Thank you. All right. I never know how to wrap those up. I'm really bad at wrapping them up. I'll be honest. Jesse, our director, just said, say weather done now. It's not really done though. I think that's what's hard is like for severe thunderstorm warnings, we traditionally just will do a cut in unless it's significant, unless we're talking like 70 plus mile per hour wind gusts potential, or like certainly higher than that. Then we're going to stay wall to wall and treat it like it's a tornado. But right now, as I see it, this is a pretty straightforward situation. Strong line of storms coming in. If you're in a warning, hunker down, stay safe. Don't go run to the grocery store right now. Stay inside. Don't wait to watch this thing coming in. Because the thing is, like I was saying, it just takes one strong wind gust to knock out a bigger limb or a tree or something like that. And you can be in a bad situation quickly because these gusts are going to arrive ahead of the main line of rain. Let me see if any storm reports have already trickled in. It does look like the one, maybe a couple now. Let's see. So it looks like one gust in Benton Harbor. Let's see what that is. 62. And that was just after that, man. So yeah, that was well ahead of the line of storms. 60 miles per hour at 6:15 in Waterville. And, so 60 miles per hour, just as a refresher, about 60 mile per hour wind gusts, that's the threshold where we get, oftentimes you're more significant severe thunderstorm damage. So like some small to medium-sized trees can get uprooted fairly easily. And honestly, some larger trees too, depending on their health and the root structure and the soil saturation, a lot of other things. It does look like multiple trees down in and around Holland. That's just based on a report about 15 minutes ago in the Holland area. And we, again, had some reports in Allegan as well. So it seems like Allegan and portions of Ottawa County, right along I-196, took quite the brunt of this storm initially. But again, this is the line right now. And one good thing is the radar is not showing. Wait, let me see really quick. Yeah, let me flip this back over to velocity just to show you all what I'm talking about. So yeah, some really strong wind potential. Yeah, that little pocket there, even on the back side of this system, like behind the leading edge, the severe thunderstorm warning continues through 7 for Allegan, Ottawa, and Van Buren counties, and then through 7:30 it was, right, through, for Kalamazoo County. But what we're looking for here is these brighter greens that you see, those brighter colors. I'm going to turn off the warnings really quickly and we'll get an estimated wind speeds. Another pocket I was seeing is right along 196 up in Ottawa County. Looks pretty brutal right now. Friesland up into Jamestown. That's like right in the Hudsonville area, for example. That looks not great. That little pocket that you see right there, some bright greens, that's going to be what's going to eventually blow into Grand Rapids here shortly. But again, the radar can just can detect precipitation and how fast it's moving. So the wind out ahead of this, you're not necessarily going to see on radar. So this is just the wind speed based on where the precipitation is. But, there could already be some 60 plus mile per hour gusts in Kent County, even though the radar is showing these primarily in Ottawa County right now. But yeah, you're seeing radar verification there, 50 to 60 plus mile per hour wind speeds, 55. I just hit a few little pixels there on the radar just to give us an idea. This pocket, I will say, is also jumping off the page, but I'm curious because that is behind the leading edge of the storms. So that's a bit perplexing to me. Typically, I would expect the strongest winds right now to be pushing into Kalamazoo County as we speak. We're talking like the Matawan area is probably right in the thick of it right now. Gobles, some of the heaviest rain just pushing through. And now we're going to be pushing into Oshtemo. There's probably already some pretty strong wind gusts in the Oshtemo area. So even Westwood, out ahead of this leading edge on the west side of Kalamazoo, definitely be inside, away from windows right now, and preferably, like in a more interior room. So don't be like sitting in your living room, get to a hallway or like a kitchen and just wait it out. And especially if you have a lot of mature trees in your property. If you have a lot of mature trees, especially if there's ones you've been putting off, maybe getting trimmed or maintained, especially more mature, older trees, and you just want to play it extra safe, I would just get to your basement if you have one, or just the lowest floor possible. Again, we don't have any active tornado warnings in effect right now. This setup tonight is really not conducive for tornadoes. It's not impossible. It's not a zero threat of tornadoes, but it is very low. You heard me talk about this during our full forecast if you were watching on air. There's another round of storms tomorrow that even looks perhaps a little bit more potent as far as a all-hazard threat for tomorrow. Similar timing too, like around dinner time, probably a little after, a little later, but the ingredients tomorrow a little bit more potent. The good news is I switched this over to a slightly different velocity product. This is storm relative velocity. So it kind of takes out the storm motion of the equation. So the fact that those storms are moving so quickly, then we're going to expect some brighter colors, but it takes that storm motion out of it a little bit. So storm relative just meaning we're able to see any sort of like rotation a little bit easier. And I was not seeing any of that, but we are still seeing some really bright colors here on radar. Some of the strongest wind speeds probably noted in Ottawa County as I see it. Not quite as significant, but still strong down into Allegan. That's the M40, M40 from Allegan down to Gobles and eventually towards like the Paw Paw area or Matawan. You're seeing some of the really strong winds as well. I'm going to flip this over here in just a second and just want to confirm there's no new warnings. I'm also going to hop on our chat with the National Weather Service. So nothing too significant up in Oceana County. Van Buren Street, that's in Ottawa County. I'm curious, there's some new, one second. Yeah, there's just so much heat and humidity ahead of these storms, so they have a lot to work with. I mean, we're talking very high instability, so rising motion in the atmosphere. So there's not a ton of shear though, which is what's saving us right now. So it looks like, yeah, like 15 miles per hour low level shear. That's not a ton. And in fact, the shear in the entire lower atmosphere is also very minimal. And so that is what's limiting our tornado threat tonight. This is good news. It looks like the southern flank of the storm has kind of collapsed a little bit across Cass County. So we don't have a new warning that's been issued for St. Joe County, by the way. So that could be a good sign that it's maybe weakening a little bit. But we still very much have a strong line that's working its way through Allegan into Ottawa and then eventually Kalamazoo and Barrie County. In fact, some of this storm is going to be pushing in at the lakeshore here very shortly. Or sorry, in Kalamazoo here very shortly, crossing 131. Let's see. No new warnings. So we're just hunkering down. And just a reminder, so our Weather Alert Network app, and I'm not just plugging this to plug it. I think people think sometimes that we do that. It really is a good tool. Like all of these alerts that we've gotten this evening have come through on my mobile device, which is very, very helpful. And it's very straightforward, like to go on there, go on our radar and see, where the storms are, where the alerts are. I can click on radar and there's a bunch of different overlays as well. And, it's very easy to see like, where are the warnings? I can click on my location and see all the alerts in effect. But more importantly, this, like I said, this is a pretty straightforward situation. We have a strong line of storms that's pushing in. You just wait it out. There's no active tornado threat with this, but the potential for 60+ mile per hour winds is still enough to bring down some decent sized trees, some limbs, and cause outages. So what I'm going to do now is flip this. I'm looking at a few different screens down here. But let me see if I'm Winds just hit Stadium and Drake. Thanks, Elizabeth. Still nothing in Wayland. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit longer, probably within the next 15 minutes before that gust front pushes through Wayland. So Brant asking, how are things going to be looking for second shifters coming home at that time, or third shifters as well, maybe going in. The good thing is, Brant, I'm not expecting severe storms really much past 11. We might still see some rain and storms kind of behind this leading edge. You can even see it there, right? Like a good amount of rain kind of behind that leading edge. However, I think our severe threat, our watch, it goes through 11 p.m. So that's a good sign as far as second/third shifters. Ashmo, it sounds like. Ashmo, exclamation mark, Carol. So I would imagine maybe you're saying it's hitting there. Courtney, yes, Battle Creek is going to see this. It remains to be seen whether we'll see that warning extended to Calhoun County. I would put that as pretty likely, though, based on the indications that I see. Schoolcraft, windy from Donald. Let me really quickly, let me think how I can do this. Let me see here. Give me a second, everybody. I'm going to pull up the Consumers Energy outage map and hopefully not crash our live stream. That would be tragic. All right, hold on. It's just taking me a second because I'm looking at about 4 different screens right now. 5 if you include actually 6, believe it or not. Let's see. No, that's not what I want. Okay. Let's see. Winds are picking up in South Portage. Thanks, Johnny. Oh, yeah, no problem, Brant. I don't know. I'm not going to try your last name, though, Brant. Ingber. I lied. I'll try it. Ingber. Let's see. Oh, no. Casey's saying her table and chairs just blew off the deck in Gobles. That's not good. All right. Westwood got dark. Power's back on. These are really helpful, everybody. I appreciate. Oh, there it is. It's hitting our building. Just felt that. I heard it. The wind's howling out there. All right. I'm tempted to go outside, but I'm not going to. That would be stupid. Okay. Let me get a closer look at what's going on here. See how that makes sense? Yeah, these storms, man, they're moving fast. They're moving 60, 65 miles an hour. I shouldn't be surprised, but that thing came in quick. But pretty much right on schedule. Maybe a little, these things accelerated a little bit. So my initial timing might have been a little bit late, actually, believe it or not. I had these kind of pushing in near the lakeshore between like 6:30 and 7 in my initial estimate, near 131, like 8, that was being modeled. So these are moving through a little faster or earlier than was modeled. Which means they're able to tap into a little bit more energy, but it also means hopefully our severe weather threat will be winding down quicker. That's at least our hope. All right, back to this. Let me see if I can think about how I'm going to do this. Pull this up. Okay, not a ton of, there's a decent amount. We already have, yeah, man. So there's already about 18,000 folks without power. Very scattered outages, it looks like, mainly Van Buren, Allegan, Ottawa counties. So, not super surprising we're starting to see that. Let me show you all what I'm talking about and let you all in on that. Let's see. You probably can't hear that, but the wind is starting to shake our roof a little bit. I'm not overly concerned, but 50 plus 60 plus mile per hour winds certainly are possible. All right, let me quickly, and hopefully, like I said, not crash the computer. That would be very tragic. Don't crash the computer. Let's get good don't crash the computer vibes. Thank you. Okay. So this is the Consumers Energy outage map. All those little polygons that you see there are little scattered outages. So it looks like numerous, just a few in and around Holland, The orange boxes that you see, those are customers 200 to 1,000, and then anything red is 1,000 plus. So, you know, as you get a little bit more populated, like the Wyoming area, Granville, just south of Grand Rapids, there's a decent outage. And then you got some, let's see, where's that? It's still Ottawa County. Now we'll go down into Allegan. Looks like just east of Saugatuck and maybe Fenville, parts of Fenville area, probably out of power, but it's again, yeah, Fenville on the south side, decent outage near Pearl. And then another big one, this red one, Pullman, if you're out in Pullman right now, you're out of power. And then they're also starting on the, you know, in the Van Buren into Kalamazoo County area now too. So yeah, these are strong wind gusts. Anytime we're getting the verification of this many outages this quickly, you know, these are 60 plus mile per hour winds that are coming through. And it's not going to be a steady 60 mile per hour wind, but as I'm hearing on a roof, it's kind of ebbs and flows where you get those stronger wind gusts. It also looks like numerous outages now up towards Doster, for example. So they're starting to creep into Berry County. So Berry County, within the next 20 to 30 minutes, this is going to blow through for you. Looks like an outage as well, just south of Westlake and Portage. That would be like near Osterhout. Yeah, right there. So there's numerous outages already coming through. This is just the Consumers Energy outage map. You can check it out for yourself. Very easy to get to if you just Google Consumers Energy outage map if you want to see more of that. But again, that gives us kind of that ground truth, if you will, of what's going on as far as the wind gusts are concerned. I'm going to get some water. Bear with me, everybody. And I'm going to put this, take that down for a second. All right. So yeah, some of the strongest winds just worked their way through Kalamazoo. And we don't still have any new, wait. Severe thunderstorm warning until 7:30. That's interesting. Did they just extend the warning? Oh, okay, no. So they've trimmed the warning somewhat. So Allegan, technically, you're not in the warning anymore, but Allegan County, the eastern part of Allegan County, so we're talking like Hopkins, the Martin area, for example, you are still in the severe thunderstorm warning. That would also include like Otsego Plainwell. You're right in the thick of it right now. This storm will be advancing across M43 in Berry County. So we're talking to you like up towards Gull Lake, just north of there. Hickory Corners, an area that saw a tornado earlier this year. It's been an active year for you all. Now it's just a straight line wind threat, but right into Berry, there's probably some 60 plus mile per hour winds. And it looks like the main wind threat, again, is going to be right along the leading edge of this and then extending a little farther to the east as well. And Cooper Township, you're getting some decent winds right now as well. On radar, that doesn't look that menacing, but I think it's just the fact that these are moving so quickly. And there's just so much energy out there that these storms are packing a punch. So yeah, let me go back really quickly. I want to just see something, everybody. Let me think about our live cameras as well and just see if there's anything that I can pull up. I should have pulled up our Kalamazoo camera when it was really coming down. Bear with me, everybody. Hold on. All right. See, I have to find a spot for my water bottle. So yeah, right up into Gun Lake area, Yankee Springs. Hopefully not too many big trees getting taken down right now. Still no warning though in Calhoun. That's pretty intriguing to me. I think if we're gonna see one, it'll be in the next few minutes. And then at that point, we'll do a new cut-in. Andy just shot some video. Let's see. That's pretty cool. You all probably can't see that very well. Whoa. Yeah, pretty strong. Wind picking up. Andy Dominiani is at a little get-together with some friends downtown, and he just sent me a video. Dang. Whoa. Yeah, moved around some of the patio furniture. So, yeah, hopefully everyone's patio furniture and grills are doing okay this evening. But, you know, that was probably several minutes ago. So, you know, it's certainly possible. Like, for example, Hastings, Barry, the wind's probably already picking up, even though on radar the storms haven't like arrived yet. It's that out ahead of it, we're seeing the gusts. Yeah, like the rain is just hitting, I think, our roof in Kalamazoo. And it's not even that impressive right now. We're like right on the tail end of that little cell. Starting to hear the thunder. But think about that. I mean, it was at least like 5-10 minutes ago. I lose track of time on these things, but it was at least like probably 5-10 minutes ago, if you guys were watching, where I was like, oh, I'm hearing the wind out there. So the wind is going to precede the storms by at least like 10 to 15 minutes, I think. You know, maybe a little less than that, but yeah, you don't want to just go off of radar alone as far as when the wind is going to pick up. But I still don't foresee any tornado threat. Nothing that I'm seeing here is the early workings of this storm trying to produce a tornado. These extend, by the way, all the way up into Lake and Newaygo counties. Grand Rapids, seeing some strong winds right now. Let's see, what is this set to? Probably South Haven. All right. So bear with me. I'm going to do something really quick. We're going rogue. Stand by. We're going to flip this to a couple different cameras. All right, let me see. I'm getting some messages on my Facebook, which is never a good, well, sorry, that sounded really bad. No, it's just never a good sign when I start getting blown up on Messenger during these things, because that's usually people sending in like damage reports or things like that. Yep, that's what it would be. Kalamazoo downtown right now. That's a big, large tree down, if you can see that. I know I'm a tiny little screen, but big, mature tree from Joni. Appreciate you. All right. There's still a severe thunderstorm watch area-wide through 11 p.m. Wow. Okay. Okay. That's the only damage photo I have. But yeah, at least some trees down in and around Kalamazoo, which I'm not surprised by. All right, let's flip this around and see some different cameras. So that's downtown Grand Rapids right now. Some really heavy rain. That's Allegan. Don't see anything too crazy. I mean, Allegan is out of it as far as the severe. There's Battle Creek. And unfortunately, I can't really turn that camera around too much. And here's downtown Kalamazoo. Seeing the lightning, seeing the thunder to the north primarily of downtown. But the main wind gust threat is somewhat diminishing in and around Kalamazoo as we speak. So Allegan, let's see. Yeah, South Haven, I mean, you're pretty much good to go as far as the threats. They're pretty much winding down. You know, we'll be on guard for some additional storms late tonight, but overall, our main window, which is a question I'm sure a lot of you are asking, our main window is really between now and about 11 p.m. Notice how as well some severe thunderstorm warnings have popped to our east. Over on the east side, they now have some severe storms out ahead of this main line. And it does look like they went with just a special weather statement down here. So that white box that you're seeing there, nothing to be overly concerned with or anything, but Three Rivers, it's basically like a step below a severe thunderstorm warning. It's basically just like the National Weather Service saying, hey, this is a strong storm, but just not quite at the threshold for a severe thunderstorm warning. So, of course, that's frustrating. So it's when I try and query it. My guess, though, let me see. My guess, though, is that is for some gusts, probably like up to 40 to 50 would be my guess. Let's see. 55-mile-per-hour gusts east Grand Rapids. That was just a few minutes ago now. Okay, Mecosta and Montcalm County now are under severe thunderstorm warning. I want the info on that Three Rivers storm. So gusts up to 50. So if you're in Three Rivers right now, that gust potential is up to about 50 miles per hour. Still enough to do some minor damage, but a lot more significant of a situation if you're in Kalamazoo or Berry County. Kent County as well. There's some confirmed 55 plus mile per hour wind gusts. And these warnings are all for wind speeds up to 60 miles per hour. The new warning is for Montcalm and Mecosta counties, also for 60 mile per hour wind gusts noted by the National Weather Service. The fact we're not seeing that wind tag get upgraded any is a good sign. But yeah, some of the strongest wind is going to begin pushing out of Grand Rapids into Lowell, for example. We don't have a new warning yet in Ionia County. I would be I'm honestly surprised we haven't seen one yet. But I will say, these aren't looking quite as potent as they were just a little bit ago, although now I'm seeing this reflectivity start to jump up a little bit near the radar in Ada. Let me just query this really quick. Okay, but yeah, see, like that's that's weaker considerably. I'm just querying. I'm clicking basically different pixels on the radar. So that's likely why we haven't seen that warning extended. The wind has definitely come down a little bit, the upper limit of this wind. You know, a 45 to 50 mile per hour wind gust, I've seen 50 mile an hour wind gusts still do damage. That's still strong enough to do maybe some isolated outages, but it's definitely weakened somewhat from a little earlier. And I'm just gonna do a quick scan, kind of like doing an X-ray of these storms, just to make sure they're not doing anything too squirrely. I'm reading a book right now, and in the book, this isn't, by the way, the reason why I'm reading it, but the mom in the book is a meteorologist, and I'm totally gonna steal this, but she, tracking severe storms, says we got to interrogate the storm. And I think that's kind of a good thing. That's kind of what we do. We're like interrogating these storms and making sure they're not doing anything or getting their act together from a rotation standpoint. I don't see anything really jumping off the page here, which is good. I'm just going to switch over to a different radar that I'm looking at down here. You know, sometimes with these lines, you can get some unique interactions, but I don't really see anything that's overly concerning right now. I was kind of keeping an eye on a little area a little closer to Hastings, but nothing really there. Maybe near Delton. I'm just looking really quickly, everybody. Yeah, there's just not, the thing with today is there's just not a lot of wind shear for these storms to work with. So it's a very, these are just being fueled by all that heat and humidity we saw, in part. A lot of moisture in the atmosphere too. What's interesting is at least at the station, we dodged the really heavy rain because I didn't really hear anything too torrential out on our roof, and our roof is metal, so you hear it pretty loud. Yeah, so Hastings right now is probably seeing the wind really pick up. So we still have the severe thunderstorm warning for Berry, Kalamazoo, Kent counties that continues for another 20 minutes. It'll probably get shaved early for Kalamazoo County as these storms continue to track off to the east. But again, these are moving at about 65 miles per hour, so they're moving really fast. But the fact that the wind potential with this has come down slightly is probably why we have not seen a new warning issued. All right, Irving towards Middleville. I wish my screen that I was looking at was a little bigger. All right. There we go. Sorry. Again, just doing a little kind of storm x-ray there, looking at it with some different products just to make sure. It does look like we have a new warning that now includes Battle Creek and Eaton County. So I'm going to do a quick cut in. Jesse, are you listening? Give Jesse a couple. Hey, what's on our air right now? Do you know? Is it Jeopardy? Okay, we're going to do another quick cut in if we can. Same deal, Jesse. We'll just cut in, cut out after like a thank you. All right, so Jesse, our director, is going to get in contact with our master control. But it looks like this new warning for Calhoun, Eaton County, and Ionia County is also for 60-mile-per-hour winds. That goes through 8:15 p.m. So you got another hour on that warning. So again, shouldn't be a surprise. The storm still has a history of 50, 60+ mile per hour wind gusts. And so that's why we're seeing. Yes. Give me just 1 second, Jesse. All right. Jesse, can you see my, this is fine. Never mind. All right. I'm good, Jesse, whenever you are. All right. We're going to do a quick cut in on TV as well. All right, hopping on here just to provide another update for this line of severe storms that continues to track east across our area, pushing at about 60 to 65 miles per hour. This entire leading edge of the storm, with the exception of St. Joe County, has severe thunderstorm warnings associated with it. The reason why we're interrupting our programming briefly is just to relay the message that now Calhoun, Eaton, and Ionia counties have been added in the latest batch of warnings. Those warnings are going to continue through 8 p.m. Right now, the info that you're seeing on your screen is for the Kalamazoo County warning. That also includes Berry County. We've already seen some reports of some trees down in and around places like Allegan, in Allegan County, Ottawa counties especially, but then also down into Kalamazoo. Just had a viewer send me a picture of a pretty large mature tree down, she says, downtown Kalamazoo. But I'll zoom in here on the leading edge, and we're going to show you kind of where this line is heading. It's moving right along I-94, again, at highway speed of like 60 to 65 miles per hour. Right now, Hastings, you're seeing the brunt of those storms. The thing with this, though, is the leading edge of where the rain and thunderstorm activity is, the wind gusts are well in advance of that. So as early as right now, Battle Creek could be seeing some 50+ mile per hour winds. So between, about 5 to 10 minutes, you'll see feel the wind really pick up before that rain and lightning approaches. That was exactly what we experienced here at the station. Our roof kind of rattling a little bit with those stronger wind gusts, and then the rain starting maybe 10, 15 minutes later. So just don't be shocked if you see some stronger wind gusts out ahead of this leading edge of thunderstorms. Now, the good news is once these are in and out, we should be out of the woods as far as severe weather is concerned for the most part through after about 11 p.m. tonight, especially. That's where our watch continues. And so everyone, especially in Eaton, Calhoun, Branch counties, you just need to be staying weather aware, certainly into Ionia, Montcalm, and Mecosta counties as well. We'll mention you all as well. Just inside, away from windows, and especially if you have any larger mature trees in your yard or on your property, especially near the house, I would just, take it extra safe and maybe head underground if you can into like a basement, or just at the very least like a hallway or something like that away from windows. So again, our latest batch of warnings continuing through 8 p.m. for Calhoun, Eaton County, and then also Berry County, and through 8:15 p.m. I should say, for wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. We're going to continue to keep you updated. If we see some additional warnings rolled out from the National Weather Service, we will cut in here on News Channel 3. Again, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. That is not going anywhere until the threat subsides. The good news is no tornado warnings active right now, so we'll send you back to a regularly scheduled programming. All right. So the TV update is done for now, but we'll see if we do another one if we see any new warnings. The good news is these storms really fizzled out farther south. in St. Joseph and Branch counties, who have certainly seen a good amount of severe weather this season. So I'm happy about that. There's still possibly some 50, 60 mile per hour winds. So I just want to set the stage really quickly. So this is kind of the initial round of storms. There's now this other area down here in portions of Iowa, now entering into Illinois. That definitely has my attention. Some models were kind of bringing this through northern Illinois later tonight and then into northern Indiana. I'll have to look at the latest hour by hour and see what it's doing. Let's look at that together really quick as I try not to sneeze for some reason. Okay, that would be a first. And I don't know if I've ever sneezed on a live stream. So yeah, I think by like 8:30, this leading edge, this main line that we're tracking now is going to be out of here. And this doesn't show too much. There's that area of storms I was talking about. That doesn't look overly impressive though, so that's a good sign. So models have kind of backed off on that possibility. It's not impossible. Like late tonight, I'll have to kind of look at the trajectory of that cluster of storms that we saw off to our southwest. And if it looks like it's tracking towards us, I'm talking about these, out towards Davenport, they're under a tornado warning right now. We do not have any threat of tornadoes. We just have straight line winds. And I can maybe see, let me think, how could I show that quickly? Phone just lit up. Let's see. Okay. Tall people problems. My standing desk is at its max height and I'm still like arching my back. So Battle Creek. Let me hop over to your comments on the stream, everybody. I apologize. I have to basically flip tabs on my computer, and so I'm not able to like watch the comments continually because I'm looking at, like I said, a lot of different things. Looks like very windy in Texas Corners. That was a little bit ago though. I'm a little bit behind on here. So yeah, if you're in Calhoun County, like Augusta, for example, out towards the recreation area there, Fort Custer, all those areas, Springfield, you're probably starting to see the really strong winds on the west side of Battle Creek. It'll be moving into downtown here shortly. Patricia, that's a great plan. In my basement with my flashlight. Never hurts to play it safe. If you have the option, if you're not doing anything, especially like I said, if you have big trees in your yard, I would always say, maybe just hang out in the basement for the next like 20, 30 minutes, depending on your location. But yeah, just waiting until these things are through, just to be on the extra safe side. Again, this is not a tornado warning situation. These are all severe thunderstorm warnings, but I'm an extra cautious guy. I know that's a very shocking thing when I'm a meteorologist. Calhoun, Eaton, and Ionia counties, though, that warning through 8:15. Ionia is probably starting to see the wind pick up as we speak. In fact, there's a lot more lightning, not even a little bit. There's a lot more lightning with that cell pushing out of Kent County. So about 100 lightning strikes within that window that you're seeing there. Whereas down here, if I can get this to update, we'll see. Maybe not. Still a decent amount. About 80 lightning strikes in that window. Okay, it's shrinking because I'm zooming in. And that's the other thing, I feel like a lot of jokes are made about Midwesterners and Michiganders about, dad going out on the lawn with a beer when these severe storms are approaching. I know it's a thing, but like try to resist the urge to just like go stand in your front yard as 60 mile per hour winds are approaching and a lot of cloud to ground lightning, because it just takes one bad gust or lightning strike to do really bad things. So just don't do that. Resist the Midwestern dad urge, as I will call it, myself included. If you got a covered porch or something like that, you might be able to get away with it. But once those storms and the wind starts picking up, inside, away from windows, preferably. All right. Yeah, nothing new to report, which is a good. I mean, other than the fact that there's still the potential for some really strong winds. It's kind of an unchanging story as this line just continues to march a little farther east. I'm keeping an eye on. I'm seeing a little bit of some. Let me see where that is. Nothing really too dramatic here, but just kind of making sure these storm boundaries don't do anything squirrely. By squirrely, I mean try and rotate or anything like that. Basically, we're getting like an interaction of a couple different edges of the storms. So let me see if I can draw this really quickly. Like this little area, if you kind of see that shape right here interacting with this. And so sometimes like when these two different areas, oh my gosh, clicked the wrong thing. Let's see. Got to John Madden this as best I can. So yeah, sometimes when you get these just pockets of strong wind, you get with these lines, sometimes you can get, if there's two pockets of really strong wind moving just slightly different directions, that's where you can get like a short-lived little spin-up style tornado. And so that's what I'm just like keeping tabs on. I don't see that right now necessarily, but maybe like just something that caught my eye. That would be entering into Ionia County, but again, I don't see anything overly concerning right now, but I'm just keeping an eye on it. Like I said, we're going to continue to x-ray these storms and interrogate the storms, like I said a little earlier. So if you're in Ionia County, your warning is going to go for another almost an hour. We're talking another 45 minutes or so. And then Berry County, looks like the worst of it is through Hastings. It's now pushing into Castleton and eventually now Eaton County. So Bellevue, for example, Penfield Township. You all are going to get in on this here very shortly. Honestly, the wind is already, I'm sure, picking up in Penfield. Battle Creek downtown. Let me flip this over. I'm going to do this again really quickly. So there's South Haven. South Haven, again, there's no threat right now in South Haven. But what I'm going to do really quickly is just switch this over to some different camera views. There's not Battle Creek, there's Grand Rapids. Here's Battle Creek. Oh, man, I wish I could turn that camera. Soon. I know we've had a lot of chatter, or not really, but we've had a few of you chime in that our Battle Creek camera needs some updating, and I agree. It does. It's a little hazy. It's an old camera. We're in the process of trying to get that updated. We've updated several of our cameras in the last couple of years. Gives us the ability to like move it around, point it a few different directions, which is incredibly helpful on days like today. So for example, I can move our Kalamazoo camera here in just a second, and I'll show you that. We might get to see kind of the rear view of this storm over Kalamazoo. Yeah, nothing too crazy to look at there. Just looks like a stormy sky. Usually like the leading edge is what you would want to look at. It's where you're going to get like a shelf cloud potentially or something like that. All right, one thing I have not done. I wonder how quickly I can pull this up. Let me just also check in with the National Weather Service. Let's see. So okay, so that's Battle Creek. Let me flip this back to radar really quickly so you're not just staring at this view over Battle Creek. So, once this leading edge is through, there's some decent winds even behind the leading edge, it sounds like. The National Weather Service kind of talking about that. You will feel the cooling effect of that rain, but I think that's why they're continuing that warning for Kalamazoo, at least for now. But yeah, if you're in Battle Creek, the wind is definitely picking up, and this the storm complex has a history of producing a lot of outages as well. Okay, like I said, nothing. The good news is no tornado threat right now. Let me flip this back to you guys. Took my hanging baskets down. Elida. Just reading your comments. Oh no. Melissa's saying possible fire in South Haven from a tree. Maybe lightning or a tree down taking. That's not good. Yeah, Kristen Miller saying she's far more concerned with tomorrow night's storms, and it's for good reason. We'll at the end of this, I'll wrap up and we'll kind of look at that. Winds hitting downtown Battle Creek right now. That was just a few minutes ago. Jody, okay. That's what I'm going to attempt to do, you guys, is pull up. Oh, that's what I'll do. Hold on. There's too much going on. I'm going to try and approve some stuff on our chime-in page if it's not already. And then we can show some things. Come on. Down tree limbs. I'm just seeing Robin and Allegan. Dang. Okay. Man. Yeah, we have a lot of photos already in our chime-in page. So let me, here's what I'll do, everybody. I'm just making sure there's nothing new. Some of the latest velocity. Okay, it's picking up again. Hold on. I just want to highlight an area on radar that's starting to show some stronger velocity yet again. And part of this could be because it's advanced. No, that's a downburst style cold pool. Okay, so warning is definitely warranted right now in Ionia. If you see that, okay, watch. Let me play that back. So watch how that just red just starts to explode on the map. See that? So that storm, that line is starting to become a lot more downdraft dominant. So it's starting to kind of collapse a little bit. So the storm itself is weakening, but with that, it's like collapsing motion. So that wind is really surging out below the base of that storm. So like, man, that spiked quickly. So I just as a point of reference, those are some really strong winds coming now through Ionia. Yeah, that's like the strongest we've seen so far. Whoa, 70. That's really strong. I wouldn't be shocked if we maybe see a new warning issued. But yeah, Ionia right now, the worst of this storm is definitely in Ionia County as we speak. Portland, for example, if and I would treat, when we start getting into the upper limit of like 70 plus mile per hour winds, I would treat that personally, if it were me, like a tornado. So I would get inside, away from windows, but preferably most interior room, lowest floor. So just in case we have any viewers up in Ionia County, take this storm very seriously because it's starting to really flare up on radar. It definitely warrants concern for outages and possible tree damage. So again, that warning, you can really see it there within the last few minutes. I'll play it really slow. You can see those storms really starting to flare up as far as wind speed. So those brighter reds and oranges and yellows, that's indicative of stronger wind. Now, again, I don't see anything in terms of rotation at the moment, but I do see some really strong winds. 1 second. I'm going to step off camera for a moment. All right, I was just checking something really quickly. I don't see the same thing necessarily on the southern flank of this, so Battle Creek is not flaring up in the same way. So just by comparison, you'll see how there's not nearly the same bright colors that you see there that we see up in Ione County. Vermontville, though, still some strong wind gusts, but look at that. I mean, those bright yellows and oranges, that's kind of the threshold. When we start seeing those yellowish colors on there, that's the severe thunderstorm wind gust. If they were issuing a new warning, which they might update that warning, I wouldn't be shocked if we started to see that wind speed potential get up to 70 miles per hour based on what I'm seeing. We'll see if the National Weather Service follows suit with my thoughts. But I would take that storm pretty seriously if you are in Ione County. Yeah, man, that's so interesting. So if you guys were watching a few minutes ago when I was showing those kind of two areas of the storm, there were like two little like bow shapes. So this is like what's causing this is what's called like a cell merger. So those two little segments have kind of like combined forces in a way. It's almost like if two waves collide. Now it's totally different dynamics, but you kind of get my drift. Like two things coming together, working together. What's up, Jesse? Okay, great. Okay, great. Oh man. So, okay, Newaygo County Emergency Services, one of the officers witnessed moving rotation and debris between 80th and 88th heading south on Warner. Man, that's a tough call. I just want to see what. There's video. I'm just looking. What the heck? Hold on. That's hard to say. I'm looking at a video that was shared by I mean, that's definitely compelling. I didn't see anything up in Newaygo County jumping off the page from a rotation standpoint, but that would be very minuscule. And that, Newaygo County is now out of the threat for the most part. There's no severe thunderstorm warning in Newaygo County, but yeah, that's definitely intriguing. But right now, the worst of this is up in Ione County. Let me get back to kind of the wider scope view. You can kind of see the comparison there. So brighter colors, bad. And this leading edge of storms extends all the way down into Calhoun County towards like Penfield, for example. Right there. But right up here is where we have much more significant winds, just by comparison. All right. And again, that was because essentially two kind of areas within that thunderstorm line kind of like combined forces. And so that's why we're seeing that flare up that we're seeing up in Ione County. New severe thunderstorm warning for Branch County. There you go. All right. So, hey, Derek, are you there now? Okay. 1 second, man. Let me, I might do a little quick cut in. Yeah. So one thing, Derek, hold on. Let me just talk to the people on the stream really quick. But this southern edge, this storm kind of all by itself, we'll have to watch that. That's what just prompted this new warning. That storm is for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So we're talking a small portion of St. Joseph and Branch County, but Leonidas, Mendon, Colon, Sherwood, up towards Union City. These are all areas very familiar with severe weather this season. You all are now in a severe thunderstorm warning. So what we're going to do here really quickly is do a quick update on TV. So Derek, you just keep me in the loop. Are you guys ready to go? Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and punch it. whenever you would like. Okay, thanks, man. Okay. We're doing another TV cut-in because of this new warning, everybody, but we're going to stay on here. Just want to make sure. Good evening. Good evening, West Michigan. I'm Meteorologist Will Haenni. We're cutting into Jeopardy. Just briefly want to tell you about some new warnings that were just issued. This new one, the newest of the warnings, includes a portion of St. Joseph and Branch County. So we're going to give you some of that information now. This line of storms is now out of Kalamazoo. So the threat winding down for Kalamazoo. We're still going to see some rain, possibly some rumbles of thunder, some gusty winds, although the leading edge of this right now extends from Calhoun up into Eaton counties and then Ionia County especially. I would treat this almost like a tornado situation if you're in and around Ionia right now. Radar has spiked a little bit as far as the upper limit of wind. So the potential there up to about 70 miles per hour now, whereas in portions of, say, Berry and now into Eaton County, Calhoun County, the limit for wind is probably closer to about 60 miles per hour. That is not to say, though, 60 miles per hour is nothing to joke about. That's still very strong. We've seen numerous reports of larger trees down. And numerous outages are starting to crop up really area-wide. It does look like they've now extended that warning in numerous counties now to include parts of West Michigan that are now out of our viewing area. But I'm going to zoom in on this warning that was just rolled out for St. Joseph and Branch counties. Again, we don't have any active tornado warnings, so we'll try and keep this brief. I just want to give you a quick update. So this does include like Leonidas, Mendon area up into Sherwood. These are all areas not unfamiliar with severe weather so far this season, really the last few seasons. But this includes also Athens. If you're in Athens right now, some strong wind gusts, and then also up into Union City. So that is right along M66 up into southern Calhoun County, Burlington to Concha. Just want you aware of a storm that is pushing through. The gusts are really the strongest of those gusts already now in and out of Battle Creek, but now towards, I would say, Marshall and eventually Albion. You're going to start to see the wind gusts really picking up. 60-plus mile per hour winds, still enough to bring down some larger trees and cause scattered outages. So that's the main concern for the next several hours. For the next, I would say, actually about 30 minutes to an hour if you are in some of these warning areas. So this warning, for example, for Calhoun County, that one is going to go for another 30 minutes or so. That goes through 8:15. The newest warning for that portion of St. Joseph and Branch County, that one goes through, let me get some updated information there. That one goes through 8:30 p.m. So with this, we'll continue to keep you updated. We are streaming live right now on Facebook and YouTube. That is not going anywhere. We will continue to stay there until all threats have subsided this evening. We also have another round of strong to severe storms we'll be touching on for tomorrow night as well. But yeah, an active night here in West Michigan. We'll have the latest tonight at 10 on ARC West Michigan and 11 on News Channel 3. If any new warnings are issued, we'll be right back here to alert you. All right, sorry, Jeopardy people. Thank you, Derek. All right, please realize that I hate cutting into game shows as much as you hate us cutting into the game shows. All right, let's see. I'm trying to... Okay, the good news is, like I said, I still don't see any sort of rotation. I was interested by that video that came out of Newaygo County. Yeah, they're calling it a gust-nado, which makes sense. Which I don't know if that would get classified. I think that would get classified as a possible tornado. So we'll have to see if they confirm that. A gust-nado is basically like think of like a dust devil. It's kind of like the same thing, but like out ahead of a line of storms. So from the gust front, like what we were talking about, those winds that pick up ahead of the storm, you can sometimes get these areas of rotation that kind of spin, but they're unlike a dust devil, which is like can just happen out in a field on a sunny day. A gustnado can still produce some low end tornado damage. So we'll have to stay tuned to hear if they put out any more info on that. But that was again in Newaygo County. So that's north of Grand Rapids from the National Weather Service. So right now, the latest warning is that one down in St. Joseph and Branch counties, that small portion of St. Joseph and Branch County. And power lines reported down, several reports of power lines down in and around St. Joseph, in and around Sturgis from the 911 call center down there. Let's see really quickly. I'm going to try and flip this around. Oh man, hold on one second, everybody. I lost a few of my links. I'm going to do a couple things really quickly. Yeah, still some really strong winds pushing through, I should say, like Ionia County. It's come down a little bit as far as the upper limit of wind, but hold on, let me see. Not really. Wow. Holy moly. Hold on, I got to show you all that really quickly. I'm getting access back to my graphics. Come on. There we go. Okay. Yeah, this is that's concerning up in Ionia County. I'm surprised they didn't update the warning yet. Did they do it for this warning? Huh. They're still going 60 mile per hour for the warning that extends out of our viewing area. But yeah, those bright oranges there, Bushnell down towards Lyons in Ionia County, and then Portland, for example, strong wind gusts there, 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. Little less significant is at least indicated on radar, but this storm has clearly a history of producing outages and tree and power line damage. And even down in Sturgis, they have some power lines down, and technically Sturgis not in the warning. So, I mean, they were talking about that storm producing potentially some 50 mile per hour wind gusts, which is still pretty strong. It can still knock down some tree limbs and things of that nature. But I'm just going to leave radar looping for a second up here. And let's see. I'm just going to comb through some stuff off camera. Okay. Whoa, another gustnado in Zealand, it looks like on video. Wow, that's cool. Wow. That's a really good video. So yeah, hard to explain without some graphics, but yeah, basically it looks like maybe another gustnado was reported or captured in Zealand, which I was just talking about that other one that was reported up in Newaygo County. So, out ahead of this leading edge, you get the wind that kind of picks up, and sometimes that can produce just enough swirl or rotation to get like a little swirl of dust and debris and things like that. So at least a couple of those. And I should know this, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure gustnados would still get classified as a tornado, but I'm not positive on that. They just get classified slightly different as far as the rating, but I gotta confirm that. But yeah, at least a couple of those I've seen on video, it looks like so far tonight. Being relayed from media/National Weather Service. And again, those can sometimes produce low end damage. A gustnado, I know that sounds like scary. It's generally think of it as like a very, very, very weak tornado usually. So it's not usually anything. I mean, our 60+ mile per hour winds are going to be more widespread damage than a gustnado would usually produce. But nonetheless, it's just kind of cool. Cool in a way, unless it did damage, which I'm certainly hoping it did not. But they're kind of like, almost like I said, they're stronger than a dust devil, but not quite true tornado, if that makes sense. All right. What I wanted to do here in a second, I want to see the outage map really quickly. I haven't checked in on that in a second. Yeah, lots of outages. These have gone up. Wow. Okay, so the last time I checked, which granted that was like, I don't even know how long ago, probably 45 minutes ago, there were like 18,000 outages. Now we're up to almost 60,000. So lots. This will be a busy next few days. The Zoom is the opposite of what I'm used to. Okay. So yeah, I mean, like a lot of outages through Allegan, Berry County, up into Ionia County. Let's see this little update. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we see these update in the next like 5-10 minutes with a lot more in around Ionia. Grand Rapids, it's kind of spotty, but because it's so densely populated, you have a couple bigger outages. Red outages that you're seeing there, that's 1,000+ customers. Looks like up towards Yankee Springs, as I was mentioning a little earlier, kind of calling them out. Up into Richland area, it looks like north of Richland up into Gull Lake. Looks like the north half and most of Gull Lake area, if you're on Gull Lake, is out of power. So it's going to be hopefully not too long of a recovery for this as far as getting people restored. But that has jumped up very quickly. That dashed line you see in the southwestern corner, that's because they're under Indiana Michigan Power, so that's why they're not included there. But I would imagine there's numerous outages down there too, because we've certainly seen some strong storms there. So yeah, you don't love when that number starts ticking higher and higher and higher. It's never a good sign. And that's, if anything, it's just verification that these storms are not playing around, that they're should be taken seriously and are producing likely some 60+ mile per hour wind gusts. So leading edge is almost to about Albion. And, you know, the wind gust is well ahead of this main line, capable of 60+ mile per hour. We also have, again, seen a couple reports of gustnados. So those are like little swirling winds out ahead of the main line of storms. It's certainly still possible, even in places like, Calhoun County right now, and up into portions of the eastern half of Eaton County. But yeah, right now, right along I-69 between Charlotte and Lansing, the wind is picking up. And then Ionia County, the threat should be winding down here shortly, up into Mecosta and Montcalm counties as well. Kind of a similar deal. The leading edge is going to begin pushing out. But this is where we still have those really potent winds. Now exiting Ionia, those bright yellows and oranges there, that's the most convincing 60+ mile per hour wind speeds that I see as indicated on radar. And then down into Charlotte too, still some strong winds, but maybe not quite 60 miles per hour. But yeah, just treat this line, take it seriously, treat it like, inside, away from windows. We've been repeating the same things, but it's just waiting as this storm continues to march east at about 60 to 65 miles per hour. So Battle Creek, the main line is out. You'll just see some rain, some steady rain when it's all said and done. And then down here, there's this other cluster of storms that we're going to be monitoring here late tonight. I really hope that doesn't do anything for us. I hope it tracks this direction, and it should, but we'll continue to watch it. What's up?
Hey, I know you're live, sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Are you using your streaming PC?
I am, very much so, even though I'm here. Do you guys need it?
I thought so. I'm glad I asked. We don't need it right now, but maybe 10, 15 minutes. Do you still need it? If you need it, it's more important.
There are still a lot of warnings.
Okay.
So until those are gone, I would prefer to keep it.
Okay, yeah, that is A-okay.
Okay. Do you want me to text you when I'm done? Does that help you?
Sure, yeah, it should be in the text.
Okay. I'll try to remember.
All right.
Thanks. All right. That was our executive producer, Eric. Sounds like they're trying to stream something else, which I don't know what they're trying to stream, but we're going to stay on weather for now because this is a pretty big story. Branch County, it's just that northern sliver up towards Girard. Union City right now, the wind is definitely picking up. To Concha, you're probably seeing the wind pick up too. Clarendon. So if I'm shouting out your locations, those are just spots where you still have that potential for some strong wind for at least another 15 to 20 minutes, I would say. That warning in Calhoun County is going to go through 8:15, and then this one that includes a small portion of northern Branch County goes through 8:30, but the threat will likely wind down before then. So let's see. I'm just scanning this. And remember, if you've been on this stream for a while now, I was talking about how, when we're looking at these velocities, the radar is only able to detect velocity when there's active precipitation. So, when I was saying, when we had that, there was a 911 center, or I think it was the emergency manager in Newaygo County. I can't really show it, but there was a video of what appeared to be a gustnado. It's like that swirling wind out ahead of the main line of storms. You're not going to see that on radar or be able to really detect it because there's not precipitation. So, typically, a tornado happens in a thunderstorm, right, where there's a lot of rain, precipitation, and then that precipitation starts to show signs of rotation as indicated on radar. With a gustnado, you're not going to really be able to detect it or track it. And they're usually very brief. They don't live long or, do significant damage or anything like that. But just kind of an interesting note a little earlier as to why we wouldn't have seen that. There was one up in Newaygo County and then another one, it looks like in Zeeland. Really quickly, let me see if I can pull something else up. Too many screens. Just want to make sure there's no new warnings. No new warnings, which is a good sign. 76,000 customers now out. So like I was saying, this thing just continues to march east and is still doing a lot of damage as far as outages and trees and things like that. It looks like several new outages have popped up in Ionia County as expected in that main pocket that we were talking about. Let me see if I can pull this up. I'm trying to pull up some pictures and see if these load. No? I don't know why that's not loading. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Hold on, guys. Okay. They're canceling the watch for a few locations, which is good, as expected. So here's some of the photos, which I can share now. Click through some of them. Now, unless people put in the caption where they're located, I'm not going to be able to quickly go over that, but that's Battle Creek. Let me see. Omena Lake from Rita Dennison. Battle Creek, let's see. Lou W. Down lines after winds. I'm not exactly positive where that is. Some larger trees uprooted there, if you guys can see that. Let me see if I can make these any bigger. I know this is not the most ideal. This is as best I can do right now. Lou sharing more, and I think that might have been Kalamazoo. Storms brewing in Portage. This was a video submitted by Terry as those storms were moving in. See the heavy rain there. Ominous looking sky from James. Whoa, that's pretty gnarly looking. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's a crazy shot from Craig. Not sure exactly where that was, but that was at a softball game, he says. This is crazy. This is from Swan Lake, I believe. Robin Nowakowski, a pretty large tree. It looks like at least on someone's, I don't know if that's a home. That's too bad if it is. So I'm certainly hoping everyone's okay there. You hate to see that. That's exactly what I was talking about with, if you have larger trees or mature oaks and things like that, you need to always take storms like this seriously because it doesn't take as much as you would think to bring down some larger trees. That's from Trisha. Some storm cloud photos. Cassie, them winds coming at us at 6:51. Yeah, moving the treetops there. So yeah, a lot of photos. If you ever want to submit content, and I might show some of these on TV later, but you just go to wwmt.com/chime in, and then you click that button right there. It's actually a pretty helpful tool for us to get kind of verification of some of the damage that you all are seeing. So we, never go out when there's active severe thunderstorms and things like that. But once things clear up, if you're able to safely venture out and snap a photo, you get any crazy damage, then you can always send it our way. And Albion, you're still very much going to see some stronger wind gusts, I think. And then also down towards Clarendon, you all are still going to see some stronger wind gusts. Right now in Eaton County, Charlotte, you're out of the worst of it, but now those stronger wind gusts are advancing just to your east. And then all the way up towards like Alma and St. John's now, they're under some severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, technically, those areas I just mentioned are out of our viewing area. Ionia County, you are pretty much out of the woods as far as severe weather is concerned. Dropping things. Right now, Barry and Cass and St. Joe have been dropped from the severe thunderstorm watch. It's interesting that the watch continues farther south. That's probably, maybe they're trimming it as we speak. But yeah, these are all the counties, by the way. If you don't know what county you live in, 10 out of 10 would recommend knowing what county you live in. You'd be surprised. Also, 10 out of 10 would recommend knowing where your county is on a map and where some cities around you are on a map. I feel like in the age of Google Maps and Apple Maps and plugging things on your phone, people don't look at maps, myself included. Just kidding. I look at maps all the time because I'm a meteorologist. It's kind of our thing. But, people don't look at maps as much as they used to. So familiarizing yourself with what county you live in, some cities around you is all really helpful when it comes to these sort of severe weather days, because we're calling out reference points and towns and counties, and, knowing what county is to your west is, for example, really helpful. And like I said, a lot of you are like, who doesn't know what counties, you'd be surprised. A lot of people, maybe they're new to the area, or some people, English might even not be their first language. Like there's a lot of scenarios where someone might not know what county they live in. So it is really important to know that information. All right. So yeah, the story continues. Nothing new really to report other than the fact that still some really potent winds now advancing out of our area. Once I'm confident that the threat is at least subsiding for now, we're going to talk about tomorrow's storm potential, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. I have a feeling this very well could be rinse and repeat for tomorrow night, and tomorrow night looking a little bit more potent even as far as the severe weather ingredients in play. There's a little bit more shear, for example, similar amounts of heat and humidity out ahead of some possible storms late tomorrow. They have not shaved off this warning or this watch. I'm just gonna. Okay, that's good. Charlotte only had max winds closer to 30, about 40 miles an hour, so that's good. But again, I would be more concerned. I was more concerned with that line that was up in Iona County, based on what I was seeing on radar. Just going to check really quickly and hop over to the storm reports. Looks like some damage has trickled in. That's in Constantine. Let's see what this was. Multiple greenhouses destroyed and multiple trees down across roads. Yikes. Hold on. I'm going to screenshot some of these. Share them to my social media. I really should have my glasses on, y'all. Fun fact, I wear glasses a lot of the time. I'm just looking at a very small screen. All right, this was likely those power lines down in and around Sturgis. That is exactly right. Severe storms brought some tree limbs and probably some power lines down in and around Sturgis. That was relayed by the 911 call center down there. And let's see what else. There's a few out in not St. Joe. There's a few out in Van Buren County. I just want to check in on these. Decatur, tree fell on Ford Explorer. That's brutal. Sorry, whoever that is. Paw, trees and wires down. There's a similar theme here, and this is not surprising, sadly, but 60 plus mile per hour wind gusts are going to bring down some of your, sometimes a little older or maybe unhealthy larger trees, certainly larger tree limbs. And then, with the amount of outages that we're seeing, it's not surprising that we're seeing these reports. And it's just kind of a bummer. I'll check in on those outages in just a second. There's another one up there a little farther north as well. Kendall, trees and wires down. So that was in Kendall. So yeah, Van Buren, there's often a little bit of a delay here as well with some of the storm reports that come in. Usually the National Weather Service is kind of filtering through those. And then there's maybe a little bit of a lag. So the leading edge is right on top of Albion right now. So Albion, you got another like 10, 15 minutes before the worst is over, essentially. Not overly concerned with that either. And then Clarendon down along M60. You're also seeing these storms. And they'll be out of Calhoun County probably within the next 10 to 15 minutes. Because, again, these are tracking about 60 miles per hour. That has not really changed. And so Calhoun and Eaton County, Iona County warning technically goes for another 10 minutes, but it wouldn't shock me if they dropped that a little sooner. Let me just confirm. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything on the chat. Nothing really new to report. Had one report of pea-size hail. Nothing too major. Yeah, that's one thing we did not see much of, which is any hail reports, which is also not surprising based on the setup that we had in play tonight. Okay. I'm going to post something really quickly as this loops. Feel free to ignore me for a second. But yeah, the worst is over for Kalamazoo, for St. Joseph County. Branch County, there's still some strong wind potential, but we're talking sub-severe. If you're in Calhoun County, Eaton County, you're still technically under that warning. Ionia County, it looks like the worst of it is also departing, so your warning will likely get dropped here very shortly. Let me share this though really quickly. The consumers' outages, by the way, is now up to 80,000. That escalated quickly, as it often does. Sorry, y'all. I'm doing a little social media on the side. And then I'm going to kind of wrap this up here shortly, but we're going to talk about tomorrow's severe potential as well. Man, 80,000 people. And we've only been doing this for that, I've been live since about 6:30. It was just before 6:30. So less than 2 hours and 80,000 people are out without power. Probably even more than that because of the additional company down the Indiana, Michigan power folks down in southwestern corner of the state. There's probably more outages there too. All right. Like I said, everybody, we're going to touch on tomorrow's severe chances here in just a second, because that is also worth mentioning as we kind of wrap this up. I'm just posting a couple things for Facebook and Twitter. Or X, I should say. Okay. Okay, well, as our threat here in West Michigan, our counties, it's really subsiding. Albion, is kind of the last little area that kind of has my attention, but even that I'm not overly concerned with. It's just pretty much run-of-the-mill stronger storms at this point for us, for our counties. Now, two things to mention. I'm going to keep an eye on this cluster that you see down here. Hopefully this continues to track essentially due east. And if anything, this rain out ahead of this area of storms out in Illinois should work in our favor to kind of stabilize the atmosphere a little bit. But, we'll keep an eye on that just in case. And if it holds its energy, I'm going to be on at 10 and 11. If my thoughts change, I'll, of course, let you all know. I'll be posting some updates, but I think hopefully our watch was through 11, and hopefully we'll continue to see more counties shaved from that. The National Weather Service is still very busy right now, so we'll see. But if they start really dropping the watch as well, that would be, I think, aided confidence in the fact that hopefully we should be out of the woods for tonight. Now, let's look at tomorrow. So here's just kind of the basic outlook. This was today. Notice that area of orange off to our west. That's where storms fired. And then, of course, those storms moved in the last 2 to 3 hours. So it was a lot more potent of a setup for our friends in Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois. In fact, they're still dealing with that cluster we just saw, which had numerous severe thunderstorms and even some tornadoes. Tomorrow, that level 3 risk shifts farther east to include our area. In fact, much of lower Michigan. That's a pretty decent risk. Like we might only see a handful of that level of risk in a typical season. So this is like a pretty decent setup for strong storms tomorrow, just relative to what we see here in West Michigan. Damaging winds, still the main concern. Ignore that part. I didn't mean to show that. Where am I? Where's my graphics? Okay, so damaging winds still the main concern. But tomorrow, the difference tomorrow is we have a similar level of instability in the atmosphere. So we're talking similar levels of rising motion, basically fuel for those thunderstorms. Similar levels of that. However, the thing that will boost our severe potential for tomorrow is more shear. And there's a little bit more dynamics in play with an approaching mid-level jet and low-level jet streams. So basically faster wind tomorrow, a few thousand feet aloft, and then in the range of like maybe 15 to 20,000 feet aloft as well. Basically that helps to organize severe thunderstorms, helps get them a little stronger when you have a lot of rising motion and energy. And then you also have kind of that shear in the mix, as we call it, wind speed, change of direction, and speed with height. But especially tomorrow, mostly a change in wind speed with height. It gets turbulence going in the atmosphere, rolls in the atmosphere, essentially like rolling motion. You get that rotated in the vertical with that instability, and then you can get rotating thunderstorms. So tomorrow, the primary storm mode, I think, is still going to be lines of storms. However, unlike today, you have a little bit more shear where within that main line, we can sometimes see embedded rotation. That would be a remnant of what we saw in April in Allegan, for example. I think that was April 14th/15th in Allegan County. Like we're talking about that tornado that was the few tornadoes that was like in southern Allegan County near Plainwell, and then into southern Barry County as well. That was kind of a similar setup where we had a line of storms, but then embedded within that line were some lower end tornadoes. So that's the sort of setup we're talking about for tomorrow. It's still yet very different in the sense of what's leading up to it. We're going to have ample heat, ample humidity again for tomorrow. And the overall risk, again, a level 3 of 5. We can break this down by severe weather modes, okay? So when we talk about severe weather, there's 3 primary things, really 4, fourth being flooding, not really shown here. But these are like the 4 things that can threaten your life. You could also argue lightning, right? Those are probably the 5 things. However, lightning, we don't really talk as far as like risks. However, there could be some pretty decent lightning rates with these storms tomorrow. I digress. The 3 things we talk about, tornadoes, hail, and wind, that's what's highlighted here. So tornado and hail are kind of like a level, you could kind of say like a level 2 of 4 or a level 2 of 5. So they're still on the relatively low-ish end. However, the potential for up to EF2 tornadoes is possible tomorrow. So there's enough at play that we could see maybe an isolated, stronger, like EF2 potentially tornado. It's not to say we're going to see that. It's never a guarantee. In fact, I certainly hope we don't see any tornadoes tomorrow. And that's a very real possibility. There's a very real possibility we don't even see a tornado warning tomorrow. However, there's enough there where, we certainly could. This is like if you are talking risk, right? Like if you leave a candy bar out and you are addicted to chocolate, then that is like a really high risk that you're going to eat that candy bar, right? I would eat the candy bar. Any candy bar you leave sitting out, that's like a high risk I'm going to eat it. However, let's say someone doesn't even like chocolate. That would be a very low risk that they're going to touch that candy bar, right? But it's not impossible. They might think, hey, maybe I'll try this candy bar. Maybe I like it. So that's like a low risk. Risk is like, I don't know, there's always a chance, right? And so when it comes to severe weather, we have kind of a spectrum. The wind potential for tomorrow is the most potent, as you see here, indicated on red, and on the bottom of that scale, right? It's kind of the middle or the elevated or enhanced. We're getting to the enhanced category. So basically what that means is just like the wind potential is definitely there. It's a 30% odds of up to potentially 75 mile per hour wind speeds. So tonight, although briefly I saw some radar indicated wind speeds up to like 70 miles per hour in Ionia County, but that was pretty isolated. The vast majority of our winds tonight were likely in the range of anywhere from about 50 on the high end to 60, 65. Sorry, that made no sense. The highest wind speeds that we saw tonight, probably in the range of about 50 to 65. And we see what that did, right? So that was pretty numerous outages across our area. We're already up to 80,000. What's going to make this even worse is now we're talking about a secondary round tomorrow late evening. So the timing tomorrow is between about, on the very early side, 7 p.m. More than likely, probably after about 8, 9 o'clock tomorrow through about midnight, 1 a.m. So timing is shifted maybe a few hours later. Despite that, though, normally that would be a good thing. The later you get, typically, your energy in the atmosphere is starting to wane or decrease a little bit. However, tomorrow is just so supercharged with heat and humidity that we're not going to really see that instability dramatically drop off. And then what makes up for that is that, again, stronger wind in the lower atmosphere. So with that, there's a little bit better potential for hail and tornadoes, but also especially wind. And the wind gust potential tomorrow is a little higher as far as the potential for higher end wind gusts. So up to 70 to 75 plus mile per hour winds in the strongest storms tomorrow. If you're in that area, if you're on the map, that doesn't mean everyone is going to see that. It just means that the strongest wind gusts tomorrow, I would not be shocked if we had 70 to 75 plus mile per hour winds. So hopefully that makes some sense. And so tomorrow is another weather alert day. I'm going to quickly show the 7-day, and then we'll hop back on to radar, and then I'm going to just relay through any sort of last minute reports that I have. So tomorrow is another weather alert day. The timing, again, late evening. We're talking probably closer to sunset into the few hours after dark. That's our main window of opportunity. So that is for tomorrow night. We'll keep you updated for tonight as well, just in case that storm complex out in Illinois starts to trend farther north for any reason. But I don't foresee that necessarily happening. But right now, one good thing that I will say is this weekend's looking pretty good. We might see some storms late Saturday into Sunday. Those don't look to be severe right now. We'll keep an eye on it. Definitely not the setup that we're seeing today or tomorrow, though. So our severe thunderstorm warnings have concluded for West Michigan. They continue for our friends like in the Lansing area, out towards Jackson, for example. However, they have concluded here in West Michigan, so I feel good wrapping this stream up. Our severe thunderstorm watch, interestingly enough, has not been canceled, and that continues through 11 p.m. But I do want to just see if there's any update from the National Weather Service there. So there was about a 50 to 55 mile per hour wind gust reported in Lansing. So it continues, 50 plus mile per hour winds are still certainly enough to, at the very least, cause some scattered damage. I'm just going to hop into our chime in here really quickly and just make sure I'm not missing anything major that I want to show you all. So at least for the next few hours, our threats have diminished. We might see some more storms overnight. It's far less likely we see any additional severe thunderstorm warnings, though, because this is really effectively worked over our atmosphere in theory. But, this is that area I was just talking about. We'll keep an eye on that just in case. Some severe thunderstorm warnings that are just being rolled out for just south of Rockford, Illinois, down into like north central Illinois. And there's a little bit more, but again, they have much better ingredients out there. Some of those ingredients are going to shift our way for tomorrow. I'm just curious what the outages are up to. It's probably even higher. Now we're up to 86,000. Man, crazy. So yeah, right in the core, I-96 counties to 94. So Ottawa, Kent County, Allegan, Barry County, Van Buren, Kalamazoo, Calhoun, all that area. There's just a lot of outages right now. And again, that just is consumers' energy. There's probably more down in portions of like Berrien and Cass counties and portions of St. Joe County too. Like Three Rivers, technically a lot of Three Rivers is not consumers' energy. I believe that's Indiana, Michigan Power. So I wouldn't be shocked if there were some there too. But yeah, a lot of outages already cropping up, and it's all very similar. I'm sure it's all very similar damage. It's probably trees, some larger trees down, and some limbs that were blown around on power lines. So we're certainly going to hope that they can get things restored as quickly as possible. I know they will be. Consumers and all of our linemen out there are going to be working hard these next couple of days. That's for sure. So definitely keep them in your thoughts. I'm certainly grateful for all our line workers out there pull in some long hours and long days, especially this season. It's been a just crazy season here in West Michigan. So that'll pretty much do it. I think, hopefully our threats are subsiding. And I'll keep an eye on this. If that cluster off to our southwest continues to maintain its strength and warrants concern, I'll be on my Facebook and my X account and relaying that message. And then, of course, before then, even tune in at 10 on the ARC and then 11 on News Channel 3, and I'll have the latest. I'm going to go eat something and hopefully go to the bathroom. And then we might be on here again, but hopefully not. I think that's unlikely that I'll have to hop on another one of these streams. Was that TMI? Probably. All right. Take care, everybody. I hope, hopefully the damage is able to be cleaned up fairly quickly, and take care of each other and help each other out. All right. I'm going to wrap this up and try to end this thing if I can find the button. All right. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.